Hi, my name's Maddie, and today I'm going to be reading the story that is called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. The author of this story is said down here. It's Jon Scieszka, and the illustrator is Lane Smith. Now, before we get into reading this, I would just like you to look at the cover and think about what is one thing that you notice looking at the front page here, and what is something that you wonder. Okay, so think about that for a few seconds. Okay, so one thing that I notice is that the main picture here is only of the wolf, and you can't really see the pigs. So something that I wonder is if this story is going to be more about the wolf and himself, since he's the one that's featured here in the front mainly, or if it will be the same story that we've heard many times about the three little pigs. Okay, so think about maybe some things that you predict or think might happen in the story. And now we'll switch to reading it and find out what happens. The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. See the cheeseburger? But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. See here, he's making a little wolf cake, it looks like. Little bunny ears and different things that maybe a wolf would like. Okay. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig. And he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? Here's the wolf needing a cup of sugar. There's the house of straw. So of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk in to someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in?" No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on, while I huffed and I snuffed. And I sneezed a great sneeze. Look at that, a big sneeze. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar, so I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not too much. He had built his house out of sticks. Here's his house, just out of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, Go away, Wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. So there's a pig with the hair, shaving. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was a second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. So here's him sneezing again, blowing over the second pig's house. Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He had built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house, no answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, and your old granny can sit on a pin. That's not very nice. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. So here's the wolf, huffing and puffing. You can see here, looks like a microphone and a pen and paper, maybe some reporters or people for the newspaper trying to see what's going on for the news. The rest, as they say, is history. So that same, they must have taken a picture of him freaking out and put it in the paper. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting, so they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. Okay, so now that we're finished with the story, we're gonna do an activity. For this activity, you're gonna need 3 different types of material that are different weight or thicknesses that you can make into a little house, because we are going to be recreating our own straw house, stick house, and brick house. But since you probably don't have those materials lying around at your house, we're gonna use paper, or if you have a notebook or other types of things that you can fold into a little triangle to make a house. And we're gonna see how hard you need to blow or light you need to for it to fall to the ground, or how many times based on the type of material it is, being lighter or heavier. So the material that I have is 1 piece of notebook paper. This is gonna be my straw house because it's the lightest piece of paper that I have and thinnest. Then for my stick house, I have a piece of printer paper because this is a little thicker than this one, but it's not the thickest thing that I have in my room. So that's for my stick house. And then for my brick house, I have a folder because this is a lot thicker than these 2 materials, and the brick in the story is a lot thicker than sticks or straw. Now, if you don't have these specific materials, that's fine. For your brick house, you can use a book, you can use a notebook, you can use cardboard. For your medium material, you can use construction paper. If you don't have 3 different types of papers or things that you can fold up into a house, that's totally fine too. You can see just what happens to 1. You can see what happens to 2 if you only have 2 different pieces of paper. But for this activity, I'm gonna show you what happens to 3 because in the story, there's 3 houses. Okay, so I'm gonna start with our straw house, which is the lightest material that you should have. But since this isn't a house yet, we need to fold it once to make it into a small little house. So I'm gonna take the piece of paper and fold it right in half, okay? So put it on your desk and try to fold it as even as possible. Okay, so now you should be able to try to balance it on your table. Now, if it doesn't balance, I'm going to show you, because sometimes it can't really, and it'll go like this. So I'm gonna show you a little trick that you can do. So you're gonna take the top and bottom and you're gonna make a small crease like this. It's about 1 centimeter, 1 inch, however big, and then you do the same to the other side. I'm gonna put it down and fold it nicely. And then once you bring it up, this is the top of your house. You're going to bring these bottom pieces out a little so that it can balance easier on the table, okay? Also, if you crease the top better and so that it's tighter, it should also help your paper staying up, okay? So now that we have our straw house, I'm gonna see how many times I need to blow on it or sneeze on it to see like how hard it takes for it to blow down and how many times, okay? Also, before you do this, if you want to be more creative and use some coloring markers or crayons or highlighters or whatever to color it and make it try to look like a straw house, maybe little slashes and stuff, or using brown or yellow or whatever colors you want, you can do that too. But for now, we're just gonna be seeing how hard it takes for it to fall down. Okay, so you do this to yours and I'm gonna do it to mine. So I'm gonna do a small light blow. Oh, I hardly even had to do it and it moved. I'm gonna do it one more time and see what happens. Okay, so that took me about 2 light blows for our straw house to fall over. And why do you think that is? Think about why did it fall over so quickly? And the reason for that, after you've thought about the answer, is because this is a lot lighter material. Just like in the story, the straw house blew over super easily because straw is a lot lighter than sticks and bricks. So now we're gonna make our stick house. So we're gonna do the same thing. Because this doesn't already have a fold in it and we need to make it out to be a house, I'm going to fold it in half, okay? So put it on your desk and fold it in half, hamburger style or this thick style. And then once you have it creased like that, we're just gonna try to balance it. I know it can be kind of hard on the table, but since mine keeps doing that, I'm gonna do the little trick of folding the little sides like what we did for our straw house. And I'm gonna set it up easier. Okay, so now that we have our stick house, I'm going to see if I need to blow harder or blow more times for it to fall over. Okay, so that it moved, but not quite as much as our straw house did, right? So it's moving, but it won't fall over. I'm gonna blow a little harder and then see what happens. Oh yeah. So once I blew it a little harder, it definitely fell over, but not as quickly as the straw house because this material is a little thicker and can withstand a little bit more wind or a sneeze from the bad wolf or a blow or whatever. Okay, so now we're going to do our brick house. So get your thickest material and we're gonna set it up like a house. This one already has a crease, so I don't need to fold it like the other materials. But if you're using construction paper or thicker paper, just go ahead and make a crease so it can stand up like a little house. But if not, stand it up and we're gonna see how much harder we need to blow it for it to fall over compared to the other ones, okay? Okay, see, that didn't even move, and that would have knocked over both our houses before, right? Okay, I guess I'll blow a little harder. Okay. Still not knocked over. Okay, finally, that took 4 pretty hard sneezes or blows for it to fall over. So I hope this helps you understand the differences in materials and why the straw house maybe blew over a lot easier than the brick house did, because it depends on your materials. So if it's super light, it's gonna quickly fall over from a wolf sneezing on it. But if it's a lot thicker, that's a lot better of a house, and a wolf isn't gonna be able to sneeze and knock it over as easy, right? Okay, so a parenting tip that I have for this book specifically and other books is finding the moral of the story or the lesson that is kind of embedded in the reading. For example, this one is that there are 2 sides of the story and you need to listen to both of them to make your decision of what you think happened, which I think is a really good life lesson for children to learn at a young age. And so yeah, just in other books in the future, just finding that lesson so that you're not just reading a book surface level, but diving into it and seeing what is really being said here and having that conversation with your children and teaching them along with the book what it's trying to get across for them.